Hey, what's up guys, OSJ here, and following on with games that were released after systems were discontinued, it's the turn of the ZX Spectrum. I have to say I wasn't expecting much from this list, but then when I started searching for games I realised that the Spectrum game development scene is massive and there have been loads of games made after the Spectrum ended. Like with my other list, I've enlisted some help, and it's the Retro 5, who are Retro B8, Sega Zombie, Ginger Hippy Gaming, the Retro Chef and Nerdy Geezer, who are all into their homebrew games. They suggested a handful of good games, but then I trawled the net for the rest and came up with a shortlist of 30 odd games and then whittled them down to 20 great games, some of which really blew me away. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Let's take a look at the 20 best Spectrum games that were released after the Spectrum in order of greatness. Kicking us off in 20th place we have Valley of Rains. So this game is definitely one of the best looking games on the list, and it's a great scroller too, but because the game was made for 48k the sound is a total letdown, and while I always say that gameplay is king, the bleeper sound effects are really off putting for me, which is a real shame, as in 128k with a soundtrack this would have been awesome. Nineteenth place is taken by Angels. Again, this is a great looking game and also has a nice soundtrack. The gameplay is okay at the start but quickly becomes monotonous as you walk backwards and forwards mashing the button. I think the major problem with this game is that it's all a bit too linear and would have benefited from being able to move up and down on the screen too. Still though, it's a good beat 'em up on the specky. Mighty Fight is in 18th position, so as you can see this is a Spectrum version of Mighty Final Fight, which took the Final Fight characters and turned them into tiny fighters with big heads. To be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of the original NES game, so although it's okay, I find it like Angels a bit samey, as you just seem to mash the button constantly. If you like Mighty Final Fight though, you will like this. In 17th place we have Rival Gangs. So as we saw in the Amiga video, they attempted a GTA game on there and did a pretty good job, but surely the Spectrum couldn't pull it off. Well, it could, and in Rival Gangs we have a brilliant GTA type game. The only letdown is the flip scrolling, but to be honest you hardly notice it. This is so smooth and a really good game. Sixteenth place is taken by Super 48k Box. This is a game that appeared in the C64 video called Super Bread Box, and although it's not as good as the C64 version for obvious colour reasons and the fact that it has no music, which really made the C64 version great, the gameplay is as good and is super fun to play. I think this is my type of game though, but might not be for everyone. Delta Shadow was in 15th position. From here on in my mind was blown, and all the games are ones that I love and will play again. In Delta Shadow we got a brilliant platform game with quality graphics, hardly any colour clash and an awesome soundtrack, but the star of the game is definitely the gameplay, and that had me playing for ages. The fact that this game is in 15th sets the bar for what we are about to see in the rest of this list. In 14th place we have TokiMal. The Spectrum never got a port of Toki. In fact, the only 8-bit micro to get one was the C64, and it wasn't the best, but this one is class. Yeah, it's not the best colour wise with some colour clash, but the gameplay is just like the arcade, and it has in-game music too. You really have to play this game to appreciate how good it plays. It doesn't follow the arcade version to a T, but I like that as it feels like a new version of a great game. 13th place is taken by Space Mobsters Meet the Hardy. So this is an ultra fast run and gun platformer that defo has the vibes of an 8-bit rough and tumble. It's all a race against time mode to get to the end of the levels, which makes this game really fast and not for the faint hearted. But if you like fast frantic action like me, then you will love this. Metal Man is in 12th position. This game really reminds me of the Spectrum version of Robocop, and we all know how good that game is. The gameplay is brilliant, the graphics are equally as good, but there's a problem, that there's no music, which for me on a game like this is essential, and if it had that, it would have been way higher. In 11th place we have Mr. Kung Fu. So a while back when I did a comparison on Kung Fu Master, a good friend of mine named Johnny Boy told me that the Spectrum got a remake after a piss poor first version. Ever since I have loved this game and it had to make the list. It's got to be one of the best Spectrum arcade conversions ever, and it plays so good. Actually, it plays as good as the arcade original. Tenth place is taken by more Tea Vicar. This was suggested by Lee Nerdy Geezer. Now this game I wanted to put higher as a package it's great, but it has for me one massive problem, and that is it doesn't shoot fast enough, which makes getting weight bonuses way too hard. Now being a shoot 'em up fan, I eventually worked out a strategy, but I think that a slight tweak in bullet speed would make this good game great. Last Train to Tranz-Central is in 9th position. Another game recommended from the Retro 5 guys, and when I first loaded up I wasn't immediately blown away, but the more I played it the more difficult the puzzles got, because make no mistake, this is a puzzle platformer, the better it got. It's a proper chill out game for me, and one where you have to take a breath and think what you need to do next, which makes this a game I will go back to. In 8th place we have Travel Through Time. So this is one of two similar games that I had on the shortlist, the other one being Drift, which I actually took out because it's very hard, but also very good. Anyway, this is a truly beautiful racing game with some nice cutscenes between races, but could have done with a soundtrack to push it up this list. Music aside though, I'd say this is the best racing game on the Spectrum. Seventh place is taken by Castlevania Special Interlude. So this game originally started out as a remake of Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, but as development went on it took a whole new storyline, and what we got is a great standalone Castlevania game. From the off it's got the Castlevania vibe, and although it would never live up to the NES games graphically and colour wise, it is still a really good platform game. Old Tower is in 6th place. It's not very often that a game completely hooks me from the first go, but Old Tower definitely did. It's a puzzle game like none I have played before, and from the off with the popcorn soundtrack you are immediately addicted. The puzzles become more complex but the game doesn't grate on you, and it is definitely a must play for all lovers of the genre. In 5th place we have Ooze. Ooze is a great alternative platform game in which gravity works different to what we are used to. Jumping will not only lift you off the floor, but it will also put you on the ceiling, giving this platform game a totally different feel to anything else on this list. The gameplay is brilliant and has a nice little soundtrack to entertain you along the way. Fourth place is taken by Redshift. Redshift was recommended by everyone I asked, so I was looking forward to firing it up as I knew it was a shoot 'em up too, and I have to say I wasn't disappointed. There have been some great vertical shooters on the spectrum if you can get away with a colour clash, but this one for me is the best of them all. I even like it better than Flying Shark on the spectrum, which I love. Nothing is in third position, so this is a part of a PC game that I never played. It's a completely awesome concept where you literally start the game with, yes, you've guessed it, nothing. As you fall into the game you unlock the ability to move left, and that's it. As you work your way through you unlock other directions and moves, and it's a game that will always put a smile on your face with its quirkiness. In fact, it's brilliantly simple. In second place we have Aliens Neoplasma. This game was recommended by my good mate Paul from the VectorB8 YouTube channel, so I knew it would be good, but my god, it completely blew me away when I started playing it. Although it's not based on any of the Alien games, it's very like Alien 3, and for a Spectrum platformer it is absolutely class in every way. The only reason it isn't top is because at the last minute I remembered the next game. And now, in first place we have the Sword of Iona. So this is a game that I saw a while back on Zypho's Twitch stream, and although I'm not a massive Spectrum fan, I thought I need to play that, and I'm glad I did. As far as I'm concerned, this is not only the best new game on the Spectrum, for me it's the best Spectrum game ever made. It's just so smooth, the character animation is like nothing else, and the gameplay will match any platform game on any system. In short, if you haven't played Sword of Iona, go play it now, and prepare to have your mind blown. Okay, that's it for this video. I normally say it's been a slog going through all the games, but in this one it hasn't, because there were so many great games to choose from. Don't worry though, the C64 will always be my favourite 8-bit, but games like this make me appreciate the competition that little bit more. As usual, please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more great retro content. And if you would like to support me on Patreon like these gems going up the screen right now, get on over to my Patreon channel where you can get your name in the end credits, video requests and more in the future. Till next time, this is OSG, signing out.